Hello everyone, my name is Cole. In today's video we are going to be looking at how I made a Lego model of the Lamborghini Murciélago. Now before we start this video, if you'd like to build this model yourself, you can get the instructions for it at my website and Rebrickable at the links in the description below. So let's begin by briefly talking about the Lamborghini Murciélago itself. Now it's basically my favorite car ever made, I think at this point, because obviously it's a Lamborghini. It's just like a big old car. It looks like it means business. It's also super pretty at the same time. There's lots of cool versions of it. You got a big V12, you have a gated manual transmission in some of them. It's just such a cool car, and so I decided to make a model of it. Now, if you've been following my channel for a long time at this point, you'll remember that back in 2021, I made a model of the Lamborghini Murciélago, and that model was pretty good for like my building skills at the time, but I got a lot better at building since then, and so back in summer of 2022, I designed Murciélago version 2. But yeah, let's get into how I designed version 2. So to begin designing this version 2 Murciélago, I decided to start from scratch entirely. And so I started designing it in Studio, which is this free digital building software, which I'll link to down below if you'd like to try it yourself. I just made like a quick design of some ideas of what I wanted it to look like or how I thought it could go together. Like the front bumper, the side skirts, and then the whole rear end I actually came with a relatively like good looking design for. And so I figured this model was going to use a lot of interesting and weird connections, so I decided to continue building it in real life. So basically we had a front bumper which is attached upside down. We have side skirts which are also attached upside down using several interesting techniques. The sides of the front bumper as well as the kind of panels on the sides are both attached using a couple of my favorite like hinge parts and robot arms, which is always quite fun to mess around with. And the rear actually looked pretty good once I had it together in real life. This model was actually surprisingly easy to design. I'm not sure if that's just because I like the car so much and so I was just very determined to finish the model, or if I just had a good idea of what I wanted it to look like, or maybe because I had already designed one, the version 2 was easier. I'm not really sure what it was, but I finished it in like a couple of days, which if you know how long it takes for me to design a model normally, that's incredibly fast. And one thing that made this model a lot easier to design is I already had a front end design that I had thought of a long time before, which actually I had made for like my old Murciélago version. I made an updated front end, and so I was able to use this updated front end on the new version because I thought it looked really good, and it actually works really well. And it's kind of an interesting design where the headlights just kind of sit in this assembly upside down. It's not necessarily illegal. It's probably not a strong enough build to make it into, say, an official Lego set, but I'm happy with it, and it sits there fine as long as like you don't throw the model around or something. So now that we kind of had the front finished, I moved on to the sides, or basically the doors, because that's the only part that was not finished. And so I was able to use one of my favorite techniques with the ball joint. Basically, the Lego ball joint is this really like flexible piece, and so I was able to angle the doors in several directions at once and basically get this really nice Murciélago door shape. I think this is actually my favorite part of the entire model, just because this is probably the most accurate part, and it's also a large section of the model, and it also looks really cool. And so it's kind of a combination of cool stuff. Then behind that, we have this interesting assembly, which has another curved slope, which is angled to match the door. And on top of it, it uses a wedge plate as an intake, which is kind of an interesting connection. There's a lot of stuff going on in this particular section. Then we have, I guess, what are the C pillars behind those, which are just really simply slopes, which are out on an angle. And then in between that, we have the engine cover, which is another one of my favorite parts of the model, because it is basically a lot of studs not on top bricks and brackets, and then some tiles on top, and they're positioned in a way where there's this really small like height change between each one, and it looks really cool. And that whole thing is mounted on a bracket to get it at the right height, and then basically the exterior is finished. So I put together a very quick interior, which is basically just some racing seats, a steering wheel, and a gear shifter. I added some bar pieces to get a very realistic front windshield shape, added the roof with a bracket to get it at the right height as well, and with that, the model was done. So with the model finished, I can pretty much say, so this is my favorite model that I have designed so far. I'm probably kind of biased because I like the real car so much, but I'm still super happy with how this turned out. So like I mentioned earlier, the Murciélago has a lot of variations. There are like the normal road cars, there are the more aggressive road cars, there are the race cars, and there are plenty of modified ones as well. And so when I had started designing this version 2, I was planning on recreating a certain Murciélago, which is kind of famous on the internet, which would be my buddy Ace's car, aka High Card, which is basically like a racing style modified Murciélago. So you have a lot of cool like racing parts, like a wing from an actual Murciélago race car, and like a diffuser and front bumper and a really aggressive exhaust system. So obviously it wasn't too hard to modify the model to look like that. I basically just added a bigger front bumper, a really big rear wing, and a rear diffuser, which connected really nicely to the design that I already had for like the area under the rear. And with that, that was kind of the High Card version. It was quite simple. But then right around the time that I finished this, the real car got this crazy vinyl wrap, which is based on a race car in the Japanese Super GT race series, which is this insane Natasha livery. I think it looks awesome to have such a crazy livery on such a crazy car, so I had to find some way to recreate this on the model. Obviously, the only way to do it would be stickers, so I asked some other LEGO car builders what they had done for custom stickers. After asking around, I went with F-Wart Sticker, I assume that's how you say their name, and so we set out to basically recreate this livery in stickers. Now the thing is, you can't really create a LEGO like sticker livery without a good kind of like view of the real car, and so the owner of the real car, Ace, provided me with this like blueprint of the livery, which was super handy for the top. Unfortunately, just because of the way it is, it didn't work for the sides of the car, but in a super like handy turn of events, I ran into the car in real life at a car show, and so I was able to get some pictures of the various angles of the wrap, and then we were able to take those pictures and basically turn them into stickers. And so with that, we had like a sticker livery for the model, and so that was really awesome. So massive thanks to Ace, the owner of the real car, for the blueprint, and to F-Wart Sticker for being able to actually put this whole crazy thing together. Now at the time, the car also had these really cool rotiform like phone dial style wheels that are very reminiscent of like the Lamborghini Countach, and so I wanted to recreate those because the wheels LEGO has are like really boring and they don't look anything like these. So I asked a friend if he could do them for me, and he said he could. So here's a montage of assembling the high card Murciélago. And so there we have the assembled high card Murciélago. I'm just incredibly happy with how this thing turned out. We were able to get it super close to the real car, not just like as a Murciélago, but as all the little details like the wheels and the wrap and all that stuff. So massive thanks to my friend David, who most of you guys will know as Bricks, Blocks, and Mox, for doing the 3D printed wheels, because they just look absolutely insane. Yeah, if you guys are not subscribed to his channel or following him on Instagram, go do that right now, because he's doing some absolutely insane stuff that you guys will really want to see. Eventually, I took the wrap off the model to go with the real car, which had also had the wrap removed. And after a while, I was actually able to get the model together with the real car for a couple pictures, which was incredibly cool. And here they are here, so you can see them. Obviously, it looks really cool. Unfortunately, at the time, I did not think about taking some video, which would have worked rather nicely in this video. But still, it's incredibly cool to see the two together. So while I was at it, I decided to make another version based on another one of my favorite modified Murciélagos, which is the Driftworks Murciélago, which is a really heavily modified Murciélago with like redone body panels and stuff, and an engine with like individual throttle bodies or something crazy like that. I'm not really sure what it is, but either way, it's one of like the meanest looking Murciélagos to ever exist, and so I thought it would be incredibly cool to replicate this one as well. Now thankfully, in LEGO form, it's actually not that different from the high card version. It still just has like a bigger front bumper and a wing and a diffuser. So basically, I just rebuilt the high card version in dark bluish gray, which looks incredibly mean, and add a different exhaust system, and it was good to go, and it looks really cool. And it's especially cool to have both of them together, because you have two kind of famous Murciélagos on the internet. And with that, we had several versions of the Murciélago finished, so let's take a closer look at the 3 finished Murciélago models. Now I should mention, those of you who know about old versions of the Murciélago are probably wondering about the SV version, and there will be an SV version in the future. That probably won't be out for a while, and I will probably make another video about it once I'm done with it. And with that, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, thank you guys so much for the support. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what cars and videos you would like to see me make in the future, and I guess that's it for now. So again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time.